Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I am your host, Brian Beatty, and a pleasure being here this morning. We're talking about the real estate market shift. What does it mean for you as a seller or a buyer or an investor or a real estate agent? What does it mean for the market in general? What can we expect as time goes by? That's really the goal of the first half of this show. And so if you have a specific question, you want to talk with me about your goals, your timeline, what you're trying to accomplish, I can tell you that I am having more conversations so far this month than in any other December that I can remember. And December has been one of my best months in sales for the past 4 years at this point. There is a lot of activity out there. There are a lot of people that are realizing, wait a minute, this gravy train is coming to a stop if I'm a seller, and I need to go ahead and do something about this. I'm concerned that my appreciation is going to halt. It's going to become more challenging to sell. Buyers are going to be a little more picky. And in most instances, quite honestly, you're absolutely right. Our market is shifting. It's been shifting for quite a while. It's just that now people are starting to figure it out. I've been talking about it on this program for over a year at this point, that this was going to happen and that the signs of it were already showing up in our market as early as last year. So I think that a lot of experts would say that the spring or summer really was kind of the peak overall for the nation, certainly, and likely the region as well. Tough to say about Charleston. Clearly we're a little insulated from some of those generalized factors that contribute to a real estate market's upturn or downturn. We've just got a lot going on here locally that boosts our local economy, that shelters pricing and huge inflection points. But for the most part, anything that's in the first-time home buyer market is selling quickly. The middle of the market, I'd say, is a balanced market. There's not a ton of options out there, but there's certainly not an extreme shortage of inventory either. That has normalized to an extent. And then the higher price markets, some markets are doing okay, but the majority of them are really starting to slow down. And you ask anybody that's selling properties like that at a high level, and will tell you that there's just not a ton of demand out there, especially this time of year. But that's, if we're talking about second homes, that's a bit more of a cyclical market anyways. So I want to talk for just a moment about what to expect and what to take into consideration if you're a buyer and you're reading this information about the real estate market shifting and, prices are coming to a screeching halt. You're going to see all this news about, sales coming to a screeching halt and buyer sentiment down, the lowest in 6 years. Just all kinds of stuff. And it's going to impact your perception of the market. And sooner or later, there's no preventing this. It's going to happen. Perception becomes reality. If we believe it to be true, then at some point, if we believe it long enough, it will become true. The real estate market is shifting. In some areas, it has shifted. Buyers are going to be the first group of people that wrap their head around it and agree with it because why? Sellers have been in the driver's seat. Sellers have been the one holding the cards. Now the buyers finally have been able to kind of peek over the table and get a glimpse of the seller's hand if we're playing poker. And now they're going to use that against you. And sellers, hey, you've had the higher chair for several years now. And we're getting knocked down just a little bit. The question is that such a bad thing? I mean, really? Is this whole shift in the real estate market a bad thing? I'm going to say no. In fact, I'm going to say that it's a good thing. Now, why would I say that? First of all, if I'm looking at it selfishly, let me answer it. I'll answer it selfishly, and then I'll be PC about my answer. But selfishly, I want a bunch of these agents that don't know what in the world they're doing out of this market. Or I want them to get trained and get on a team and learn their job, become effective at it, learn how to sell at a high level for their clients' benefit. And I say this because we continue to see contracts from all these agents that are just crap contracts. If I were a buyer agent representing my client and I presented the kind of contract that we routinely see on our listings, I would be embarrassed because these agents are leaving their buyers open to liability. They are theoretically costing their clients money. They need more training. They need it from somebody that has been here and seen a market like this. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of these agents are just not trained well because the industry standard is incredibly low. We are educated on how to pass a real estate exam. And then from there, it's up to that agent as to whether or not they receive any sort of education on training or how to negotiate a contract or what to say, when to say it, how to say it to help their clients get a better deal or to get in front of enough people to help sell them real estate or find enough buyers for the listings that they take. So personally, I'm ready for some of these agents to either get trained and get better or get out. The PC answer as to why this shift is a good thing is because if this shift had no impact on the momentum of our market, if we were still gangbusters, seller's market, we can't put enough properties on the market quickly enough because they're selling so fast, because there's so much demand, then guess what would happen? Interest rates would go up again. This shift in the market just means that the interest rate increases have worked, at least to an extent. It's caused some people to let off the gas pedal a little bit. We needed a slowdown. A frenzy market is not a normal market. A normal market is a normal market. And we haven't been that way for years and years and years. So I think it's okay for this market to take a breather for just a second. Let the economy catch up with the cost of homeownership and housing. It's expensive, especially here in Charleston. So personally, I think it's a good thing. I think the other thing that's going to happen is our real estate market or the listings within it are going to have to get a little bit more real about their asking price. We have a huge portion of the listings available in our market right now are just overpriced. They are inflated. They need to come down a little bit. So I think that's going to happen. The question is going to be, is that going to be you if you're selling your house? Or are you going to be one of those sellers that is always chasing the market, just like I saw when the market was going down from 2008 until 2011, parts of 2012. Well, 2012, parts of 2013. But are you going to be one of those folks that just can't quite get it in gear quickly enough, and by the time you finally say, okay, well, let's reduce the price by X, then your agent's saying, well, that would have been a great price 3 months ago, but now we're here. And you're like, well, no, make this adjustment. And you're always behind. And I am not trying to paint the picture that prices are about to take a cliff dive. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I do think, however, that the rate by which prices are increasing is going to significantly slow down and in some instances stop, because anytime you get to the top or a bottom of a market, there's always a bounce. So we've hit the top of the market in some areas, or at least so experts say. And so what's going to happen? There's going to be an overcorrection downward. And then things will level off a little bit. So as a buyer, I think it's natural for you to think, okay, we've got this shift in the market. Prices are going to stop going up. Maybe they'll come down a little bit. I'm going to start lowballing the you-know-what out of people, because now it's time for a deal. It's time for us to take things back. And the problem is that, hey, we're not there yet. You might find a seller in a specific situation that needs to sell, but overall, we're still mostly a seller's market. And I do want to make that distinction. It just means that we're returning toward normalcy. So thinking that you can go out and start throwing out 20, 25% below fair market value offers and if you do it, 5 times, you'll get one of them or 2 of them. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Those are tough to get even when the market's really down. But I do want to share one tactic that I do think works well in times like this if you're a buyer. Don't make a stupid offer, but make an aggressive offer. You want to make an offer low enough to where the seller responds. You know they're likely not going to take it. If they do, then holy cow, you got a fantastic deal. But most don't. 99 out of 100 don't. They counter. So the goal is for you to write them an offer that's low enough to get a counter. And then play the game a little bit. If they've been on the market for more than 90 days and I was buying a property, I'd be playing the game a little bit. I'd be waiting a day or two to, send in my next counter, and I'd make sure that my agent was checking in with the other agent to see what kind of activity is out there, so that I'm not playing games so foolishly that I lose out on a deal. But I'd be playing the game a little bit. And then at some point I would say, you know what? I'm done at this number. And they come back and it's somewhat close but still not there, and you say, all right, well, you know what? We're just going to keep looking. Get it close enough to where the seller is going to say, oh, just take the offer. Fine. They win. That's what you want. Now, a lot of agents are listening to this program, and I have some clients that listen to this program as well, and they might be thinking, Brian, how could you be giving out these tactics? Well, it's not like I'm giving out the secret recipe to, Outback Steakhouse's Bloomin' Onion or something. Go online. These tactics are out there. I'm just telling you one of several that work in a market like this. Let those sellers sweat a little bit. They've been used to saying, you know what? No, this is my price. It's a take it or leave it price. And if you don't take it, I'm just going to wait for the next buyer to come along, and I'm sure they'll be here this weekend. Those conversations, those internal monologues with sellers those aren't going to be happening very much anymore. So sellers, in my opinion, once you get close enough to where you can live with that offer, all other things considered, let's say you've been on the market for 2-3 months and this is about as close as we're going to get. More often than not, I'm going to likely encourage you to think very strongly about taking that offer. Ultimately, you make the decision, but when you get close enough, the key is to just wrapping the deal up and getting it done. In all the real estate that I've bought and sold for myself, I can honestly say that I do not have any regrets whatsoever about paying just a tiny bit more than I wanted to or selling for a little bit less than I wanted to, because you know what? Every experience that I've had with every home I've lived in or investment property that I've had has been worth it. That's a tough thing to sell to a potential buyer or seller from a real estate agent's perspective, but darn it, it's true. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to talk about who is really benefiting right now from this shift in the market and what you need to be aware of. Possibly one of the sneakiest scams out there is happening right in front of our eyes, and you need to know about it. It's a very important segment coming up. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. And remember, if you want to reach out to me and talk about the process of buying or selling or investing in real estate, talk about putting your home on the market and getting it sold, how to do that and get the most money possible for it. What should you be doing to prepare your home for sale? Remember, I offer a free pre-listing home inspection. If you sell and buy a home with me, I'll pay your moving expenses. A few other incentives out there as well. Just contact me and we can talk about it. 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. Or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Hear the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 9 and each Sunday morning at 10 on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.